उल्लंघ्य सिन्धोः सलिलं सलीलं यशोकवह्निं जनकात्मजायाः आदाय तेनैव ददाह लङ्कां नमामि तं प्राञ्जलिराञ्जनेयम् मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि आसाद्य साधकस्वामिन् आसाद्यं तव किं वद रामदूत कृपा सिन्धो मत्कार्यं साधय प्रभो. Storytelling, we think, is not very easy. Many a times we think only few are good storytellers. But whether we realize it or not, all of us have a very captivating storyteller as our companion all the times. This storytelling can be a boon or a bane. This companion, which is a great storyteller, is nothing but our own mind. Constantly telling us all kinds of stories. Whether we want or we do not want. To such an extent that many a time we end up living in this world created by the mind's stories without realizing the difference between the story, which is only a story, and the reality. And instead of us co-writing our own scripts of our life, we let the mind's stories become part of our own script. Sometimes this storytelling is helpful. When sattva predominates in the mind, mind's stories do help us. But majority of the times, mind loves to exaggerate and mislead us. When we look at an tempting object, the mind starts to build a story as to how that object is the beginning and end of life. We have to necessarily possess it. When we look at a scar or any kind of a wound, all of a sudden, the mind will start building stories leading up to a cancer, making us panic. Swayed by tamas, mind storytelling is filled with horror, fear, lamentation, influencing majority of our decision making. When we do not recognize the difference between reality and mind stories, there is no way we can take really quote unquote informed decisions. Therefore, unless we become active observers of our own mind, to even those who are highly sattvic, Hanuman himself being a great example, they have to undergo this test of being subject to mind storytelling, because that is how the mind is designed to operate. There is no escaping from the fact that mind is designed to operate to tell stories. So therefore, the only way to ensure that we are not misled by these stories, we are not paralyzed when it comes to taking right actions, when we are not misled into making hasty decisions, the only way is to ensure that we are constantly witnessing our own mind. We need to be aware of mind's workings, and we need to be constantly observing our own mind to bring in that gap between me and my mind. If there is no gap between me and my mind, if I become my mind, the mind's story becomes my reality. I only live in the world created by my mind stories. The greater the gap I bring in between me and my mind, the greater clarity I get on reality. Hanuman teaches us how to bring this gap between me and my mind, so that even when we are subject to, because after all, nobody is 100% sattvic. As long as we are caged in this material body, which is a product of all the three gunas. If we are 100% sattvic, we all would be blissfully in Vaikuntha. Why would we be here? As long as we are materially engaged, there is some sattva still in some tamas still in us. I'm being very optimistic and positive in saying some tamas. That some tamas, when it tries to dominate during some parts of the day or parts of the week, can create horror stories, and then we would be subject to stories which horrify us. And this is exactly what happens to Hanuman as well. It is not about being subject to mind's storytelling, which is the learning. It is how to come out of it is the greatest learning. Hanuman, after overcoming obstacles as he crossed the ocean, finally landed on the southern shore of the ocean. That itself, overcoming the ocean itself, possibly we would all think is a great accomplishment. Yes, it is indeed a great accomplishment. But compared to what Hanuman is going to go through, that would seem like nothing. No, many times it happens to us. We think, after surmounting one obstacle, we think as though we have scaled Mount Everest. But unfortunately or fortunately, life is not about just scaling one peak. Life is about constantly scaling multiple peaks as we go along the journey. Hanuman is now scaled another peak physically, the twin peaks of Lamba and Suvela. Physically, these are the two peaks. So Lanka, the geography of Lanka is very interesting. And we see how Ravana is very devious when it comes to how he has fortified the city of Lanka. The northern border of Lanka is basically covered by the twin peaks of Lamba and Suvela, the two mountains, almost like forming the wall. Therefore, you have the ocean, and then you have the twin peaks of Lamba and Suvela, forming the northern border of Lanka. And then beyond the twin peaks lies a huge forest filled with all kinds of trees. And then there is another peak on which Lanka is situated. So no wonder the city of Lanka is fortified beyond anybody's imagination. So Saghara Manadrishya Matikramya Mahabalaha Trikuta Shikare Lanka Stitam Swasto Dadarshaha. Now for the first time, Hanuman gets a view of Trikuta, the mountain on which Lanka is situated. After having crossed over the ocean, for the first time, Hanuman has a view. He looks at the city of Lanka situated on top of the Trikuta mountain. Yojananam Shatam Shriman Titwarti Uttama Vikramaha. Uttama Vikrama. The valorous, the supremely valorous Hanuman, Aniswasan Kapistatra Na Glani Madigachati. He is not tired at all. He's crossed over a huge ocean, but Hanuman, Valmiki says, is not tired. He's still fully filled with energy. It's very important. Why? Because he is not only physically fit, he's also mentally fit. And also, he not only does not have physical fat, he also does not have mental fat. Mental fat is what most often drives us to become tired. It's not the physical fat. The mental fat most often is all kinds of unwanted thoughts which drain us of all the energy. Hanuman so far has been able to keep those thoughts away. I'm only saying so far. Even the great Hanuman is also subject to this kind of experience, that which we are going to see. Therefore, Hanuman now is looking at, he's situated on the twin peaks. He's crossed the ocean. He goes up the first hurdle on the way to Lanka, or the city of Lanka, which is in the form of the twin peaks. He scales the peaks. Now, see how many peaks Hanuman has already scaled. Earlier, he scaled a mountain and went into a cave. And then they encountered Swayamprabha. After that, he had to scale Mount Mahendra. Now he is scaling the third peak, the twin peaks of Lamba and Suvela. Now, it is from here, from a vantage point, perched on this peak, he is now able to see another peak, the Trikuta mountain, which is where the forbidden city of Lanka is situated. So this is the northern border of Lanka. And then between the peaks is a huge forest covered with dense trees, all kinds of trees. Hanuman is looking around. It's lush green all over. It's a glorious sight. But at the same time, he's also surprised to see that even during off-season, all the trees seem to have bloomed and there are flowers everywhere. It is most likely because the trees are afraid of Ravana, and because of fear, they keep blooming even during off-season. The trees all around, in fear of Ravana, are blooming with flowers and bearing fruits even during off-season. It's like, it's like mango trees bearing, mangoes even during winter, in fear of Ravana, because all those trees are uncharacteristic and unusual there. And with all those dense forests all over covering, he sees on the other side, further down towards the south, he sees the city of Lanka. And then Hanuman, then Valmiki writes, Girimurtini Stitham Lankam Pandurair Bhavanai Shubhai Tadarshasa Kapisreshtaha Puram Akasha Sangamyatha. He sees beautiful white buildings spread all over the top of the mountain. This is a wondrous sight. Hanuman is overwhelmed looking at the wonder and splendor of the spread all over. He has never seen such a sight. This is beyond. He has heard about this, but he has never seen something so very incredible. And Phalitam Rakshasendrena Nirmitam Vishwakarmana Plavamanami Vikashe Dadarsha Hanuman Puri. Vishwakarma, after all, this is the handiwork of Vishwakarma, and it has to be nothing short of an outstanding creation there. He is looking at the green carpet of the green carpet all over the forest, and atop he sees the city of Lanka with its massive shimmering palaces and shining domes. It seems every dome, every palace that he sees spread over on top of Trikuta, or all every dome is made of gold. It's all splendorous and shining. This is nothing that he expected. And he sees fortified walls, and he sees all kinds of mighty Rakshasas guarding all over. Now, it is so overwhelming to Hanuman. Hanuman now suddenly starts thinking, no wonder this is that Lanka which nobody could ever manage to conquer. Not the Devas, not the Gandharas, not the Yakshas. This seems to be the seat of power on Bhuloka. This reflects Ravana's unquestionable authority on all the three lokas. This is the capital now of three lokas, seems to be even more glorious, even more pompous than Indra's Airavat, in the capital of Swarga. Agatyapi harayo bhavishyanti nirartaka nahi yuddhena valanka shakya jetum surairapi. No one begins to think, now I know why even Indra and all the devas are scared. Why they have not been successful in conquering Lanka, in overthrowing Ravana. Imam tu Vishamam Durgam Lankam Ravana Palitam Prapyapi sa Mahabahum Kim Karishyati Raghavaha. Now Hanuman's mind starts to spin yarns. Slowly negative thoughts start seeping in. Now, even if the mighty Raghava, my master Rama, ends up coming here, most likely he may only end up coming here alone, because it's not possible for the entire army to come along with him. Therefore, if he comes alone here, how is he even going to overthrow and conquer this mighty city? Avakashauna sanvatsya rakshaseshvabhiha gamyate nadanasya vedasya naiva yudhyasya drishyate. Now, it looks like it is impossible, it is not possible to overcome the Rakshasas using all kinds of means. Sama, Dana, Veda, Danda. In order to overcome, one of the four have to be deployed. Now it looks like none of the four could fructify. Sama, only when the other party, when the enemy has some sattva, then they can be brought to a table to discuss, and then they can be convinced. So the means of Sama will not work with these Rakshasas. Okay, if I have to take up the means of Dana, what is the point of trying to give to somebody when these Rakshasas are known to grab? Why will they even come into a discussion and where they will be ready to take something? They are only known to grab things. So therefore, the means of Dana is not going to work with them. What about the means of Veda, creating differences and dissension? Hanuman thinks, it's possibly easy to create differences between good people. It's not easy to create differences between bad people. It's an interesting way of thinking, because doing good, there are multiple ways. So there could be differences of opinions among good people when it comes to doing good. But There is only one way of doing bad. So bad people always stay together, are more united. When it comes to doing bad, we suddenly see unity. And therefore, it is not easy to bring in differences amongst these Rakshasas. So therefore, the means of Veda may not work. What about Danda? I can go get into a war with these people, but the Rakshasas are known for treachery, for cheating. They have all kinds of magical powers. How can Vanaras, even if they end up coming here, be a force against this? So it looks like all the four means of Sama, Dana, Veda, Danda possibly will not work. Hanuman is beginning to get, worry now. No, I have come all the way here. It looks like the challenge ahead is more formidable than we all anticipated. Possibly, this is possibly beyond me. This is beyond all the Vanaras. It is beyond Sugriva. And he is now worrying. Chaturnamevahi gatirvanara narana mahatmanam Paliputrasya Neelasya mama ragyascha dhimataha. If at all we put a lot of effort, maybe only few people can, along with Rama, may come here. Paliputra, Angada, Neela, Sugriva, and myself. The others are not capable of crossing the ocean. When we have a huge army, it looks like now Hanuman is overwhelmed looking at the city of Lanka with all its palaces towering into the sky, and the main palace of Ravana looking like, taller than even the Kailasha, and with all the fortification, with all the Rakshasas, all that he sees, Hanuman thinks now it's almost impossible. Now, if all the Vanaras have to come, it looks like it's impossible to cross the ocean, scale the twin peaks, and then reach Trikuta. If at all we put in effort, maybe only 4 of us can reach. How is it now going to be possible now to accomplish the mission? Hanuman, this is what happens when doubts in the mind start not only seeping in, starts to build. Doubts, as they start building in the mind, can be very destructive, can be very devastating. Sometimes doubts are healthy. Some doubts are healthy when it comes to pointing out to potential problems or potential dangers. But the same doubts become unhealthy when we become obsessed over these problems. The doubts then, when we give in to these doubts and become obsessed over unknown potential problems, then all possibility of any action, any proactive action completely goes for a toss. So therefore here Hanuman is gripped with doubt. So most often this is what happens to us. When the mind starts to process doubts, we get so possessed by those potential problems instead of evaluating solutions. We get stuck analyzing the problems. The doubts ensure that we don't go beyond analysis of the problems. We do not go beyond and get into actually finding solutions. And what is the way out of this? What is the way out of preventing the doubts misleading us? Because the doubts start to question all kinds of authority, but they fall short of questioning one more authority in the mind. What is the other authority? The doubts themselves. If the doubts are questioning everything else, why shouldn't the doubts themselves be questioned? If there is a doubt which is questioning, why shouldn't that doubt itself be questioned? So the only way to not be paralyzed by doubts is to start doubting the doubts. If the doubt is given all kinds of authority, then there is no way to start exploring right solutions to the problems. So Hanuman, all of a sudden, he realizes this. All kinds of doubts are seeping in, challenging Hanuman's decision to take the leap and come all over here, questioning him, just listing all the problems, not allowing him to explore solutions to these problems. It's only saying what is not doable. It is not saying what is doable. Now Hanuman says, hey, wait, what is happening to me? He says, let me take a pause. This is where the power of self-talk becomes very important. Hanuman engages in a self-talk. He says, he puts a pause to all these negative buzz that is going on in the mind. He says, I have just about started the mission. Taking the leap and reaching the southern shore is just the beginning. It is not the end. There is a lot more to be done. Why should I get into processing all these negative thoughts right at this moment? I should be now looking at what is the next step. Let me take one step at a time instead of worrying about how nothing is possible. Let me look at, can I take one step at a time? Now he says, what is that next step? Yavat janami vaidehim yadi jivitavanava tatraiva chintayishyami drishtvam tvam janakatmaja. First, I need to find Sita somehow. I need to see her. What happens next will come after that. Sometimes it is very important not to look at 100 steps forward. It is important to be sure of one step instead of being worried about lack of clarity on the next 99 steps. Clarity on that first step becomes so very important. To clear the mind of all this negativity, it is very important to take that one step forward and be assured. And then having that faith that the subsequent steps will happen. To see, when we are driving in darkness in a car, it is important to be assured that I can at least see the 20 feet forward, 10 feet forward, instead of worrying about the darkness further down. If I'm worried about the darkness further down, I can't even drive forward. I need to be reassured that I can at least see 10 feet, 20 feet forward and keep moving in the right direction. Ability to take decisions instead of being paralyzed is so very important. So Hanuman here is telling himself, he first tries to stop that negative buzz. He says, let me not overthink myself and be paralyzed. And how can I not be paralyzed? How can I stop overthinking? I need necessarily to take a great source. So I need a source of strength for that. And obviously, what is Hanuman's source of strength? Hanuman's source of strength is Rama. Tatascha chintayamasa muhurtam kapikunjaraha girishringe sitastasmin ramasta abhyudaye rataha. Rama's welfare is my foremost objective. Now, if that is the foremost objective, I should just be looking at having that as my only objective at this point in time. And therefore, the moment Hanuman once again brings Rama's welfare, the objective that needs to be accomplished, Rama Kainkarya, into the scheme of things, he starts to slowly see clarity. Ugrajasau Mahavirya Balavantascha Rakshasaha Vanjaniya Maya Sarve Janakim Parimarkata. Then he starts to think. Now, now the thinking process. Now, yes, I know it is not easy to enter. Lanka. I know it is well protected. I know if I just walk in like this, I'm not going to accomplish the mission. Now I need to think of ways and means of first accomplishing only one thing. First, locating Sita. First, I have to see Sita. Everything else comes later. It is not about how do I go and fight with all the Rakshasas? How do I encounter Ravana? How do I find ways and means of conquering Lanka? All of that come later. Stop worrying about how when Rama comes here, will all the Vanaras will they manage to come along with him? Will we have an army to fight with Ravana and his great army? Will we have enough power, enough resources to overcome Lanka? All of this can come after I locate Sita. Now, even before locating Sita, why should I be paralyzed thinking about all of these things? Now, my objective is to locate Sita and convey Rama's message to Sita and nothing else. And therefore, let me find a way to locate Sita in Lanka. If I have to locate Sita, I have to enter Lanka somehow. How do I do that? Therefore, bhutaschartam vipadyante teshakala viroditaha viklabam dutamasadya tamaha suryodayo yatha. He himself tells himself, if a messenger gets into a gloomy state of mind, it is exactly what happens. It will be a disaster. So he can, now I am Ramaduta. As a Ramaduta, I cannot allow myself to be in a gloomy state of mind. I have to somehow find a way out of this. Then Hanuman says, Na vinashye tattvam karyam vaiklavyam na katam bhavet lankanam cha samudrasya katam namu vruddha bhavet. I have crossed over all the ocean. How should I task be performed? My mission should not go in vain. All that has already happened should not go in vain. Therefore, Maidrishte tu rakshobhi Ramasya viditatmanaha bhavetmattim karyam ravanartam michchataha. He goes on to say, now if somebody sees me like this, then I cannot accomplish my task. Therefore, I have to do something different. What should I do? Ihayam yadittishtami svena rupena samvrtaha vinasham upayasyami bharturartascha hiyate. The task of the Lord will be spoiled if I go in this form. So therefore, I have to take some other form. Therefore, Hanuman says, let me decrease my size, like a cat in the size of a cat. Now then, I can then unnoticed, because then I will be just like an ordinary monkey. Nobody will realize if an ordinary monkey is prowling all over, nobody will care. So therefore, Surye chastam gateraptrau deham sankshapi maurutihi vrishadashankamatram san babhuvad putadarshanaha. Babhuvad putadarshanaha. No, Hanuman shrunk himself to the size of a cat, became like a little monkey, but it is Hanuman, not an ordinary monkey. So he was looking like wondrous, beautiful, Adbhuta no, a beautiful little cat-sized monkey he became, and he decided, I will wait for sunset to happen so that unnoticed I can somehow sneak into Lanka. Chandro, and then immediately Valmiki writes, Chandropi Sachivyamivasa Kurvaha Staraganair Madhyagato Virajan. It seems the moon, as sunset, the moon was beautifully rising and the rays of the moon was spreading all over, as though the moon was also wanting to engage in helping Hanuman. Because if it's pitch dark, Hanuman cannot find his way into Lanka. Therefore, the moon uncharacteristically, amidst all the stars, bright stars, the moon beautifully rose, and it was a full moon night with the rays of the moon spreading all over, so that Hanuman can find his way through amidst all darkness inside Lanka. And Hanuman prepares to get inside, and surreptitiously he tries to get inside the gates of Lanka. He crosses all the forest. He goes up the Trikuta and he is about to enter Lanka. And then as he attempts to enter, all of a sudden he encounters two humongously large bloodshot eyes staring at him. And then he sees a ghastly creature there. And this creature, Kastvam kena chakaryena iha prapto vanalaya katam sveha yatatvatvam yavat pranam dharanti. And immediately he says, who are you? With a thunderous voice, that ghastly looking creature questions him, stops him from entering, and who are you? You're looking, you are like an animal wandering around, and this place is forbidden for strangers. Trespassing is not allowed. How dare you try to enter the gates of Lanka? Na shakyam kalbiyam lankam praveshtum vanaratvaya rakshita ravana palai rabhiyuktaha samantataha. This city of Lanka ruled by Ravana, under his command, I guard the city of Lanka. Nobody can enter this. Aham rakshasa rajyasya ravanasya mahatmanaha ajnapatiksha durdharsha rakshavi nagari mimam. I am the guardian of Lanka. This is Lankini, the horrendous Lankini, the guardian of wondrous Lanka. She is now the one obstacle between Hanuman entering Lanka. Stops him and says, forbidden. You cannot enter here, Hanuman. You better find, go back from wherever you are. This is not the place for you. Hanuman. And then Hanuman tries to reason with her. He says, I'm just an ordinary monkey. I just looked at this place. It looks so very inviting. I just want to go around to look at the beauty of this place. Lankini does not allow. On the contrary, she pushes him so hard. Hanuman regains balance. Hanuman knows now he needs to somehow subdue this Lankini. He regains his balance. He clenches his fist. He begins to run towards the towering Lankini, and then he takes a leap, and then he lands on her chest, and with his fist he gives her a very hard punch, and that with one punch he knocks her out completely. That one punch of Hanuman was enough to knock her out completely, and this huge creature falls flat. And then that one punch possibly was enough for her to come to wake her up. Lankini gets up. She somehow regains her senses, looks at Hanuman, realizes this is not somebody ordinary. Also, the thoughts from her past also starts flooding. Then she looks at Hanuman. Lankini says, Prasida Samuhabaho Trayasva Harisattama Samaye Sauvyatishtanti Vehe Mahabalaha. Hanuman, please do not further get into this battle with me. Now Prasida, I pray that you save me, you protect me. I realize my mistake, and I now realize now I can remember from the past what Brahma had earlier gave the forecast to me. Earlier Brahma had told me that very moment when a Vanara comes and subdues me, Yadatvam Vanara Kaschitrik Mahadrisham Manaye Tadatvayahi Vikneyam Rakshasam Mayavagatam. It is that time Brahma had told me, the moment a Rakshasa comes and subdues me, Brahma said, you must know that is the time has come for Lanka to fall. That is the very end of beginning of Lanka. So now I remember Brahma's forecast, the time when a Vanara comes. So therefore, I know now that you have come. You are the one who is going to bring the end of Lanka. Sita nimittam ragyastu ravanastu duratmanaha vidatsvam sarvakaryani yani havanchasi. She says that Ravana, the ruler of Lanka, who has abducted Sita and was brought her here, now I know that his end is nearing. Now this is reassuring for Hanuman. because now he knows Sita is inside Lanka. Because now Lankini has also admitted that. Now Hanuman is also elated. It's good news that sooner or later he is going to find Lanka. And Lankini says, hey Hanuman, I bow to you. I bow to you that you have brought me to senses. And now you are free to go forward. You're free to enter Lanka. Please enter Lanka. Go do what you have to do. Execute all the tasks. Complete your mission and be successful in your mission. I know you will be successful in your mission. This is a great lesson where we see that Hanuman's punch, that one punch of Hanuman made Lankini to realize a big mistake. What is that big mistake? The mistake of serving the wrong master. Lankini was a very loyal servant. Unfortunately, she was serving the wrong master. She was serving Ravana. While she had been guarding Lanka from all kinds of trespassers, this encounter with Hanuman also made her realize that the real trespasser is none other than Ravana himself, nobody else. She should have been actually guarding Lanka against Ravana. Ravana is the real trespasser, she realizes. No, Lankini also fell when Hanuman punched her hard, but that punch was needed for her to regain at the last senses. Last but not the least, Lankini is like the ego. Lanka is like the mind. Unless the ego is subdued, unless the ego is punched, the bloated ego, Lankini, the horrendous, huge creature, is like the bloated ego. Unless it is punched, unless it is subdued, the mind cannot allow the entry of a guru. Now, Lankini is subdued. Hanuman, who is the very embodiment of all the qualities of a guru, is entering Lanka. And we will see how, after entering Lanka, what kind of experiences Hanuman goes through. Until then, let us continue to contemplate on the Sukshma Rupadhari Hanuman, who has taken a wondrous form of a little monkey in order to explore Lanka. Jai Shri Ram.